day, wonderful Nigerians and our great viewers. Welcome to another edition of your favorite program in Living Television. That is Issues of the Moment. Issues of the Moment comes to you from the stable of the Living Television. It is a current affairs program of this station. That is where we discuss issues affecting our country, our various states. And I'm glad you're there watching Living TV. In today, we are going to look at what happened on the 5th day of January 2023 in the INEC office. And then after that, we are going to look at one or two other sundry issues as it concerns this country. Today with me in the studio is a man we'll always love to listen to, and that is Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian, is a public affairs analyst, and also a political affairs analyst. Nnamdi, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me join you. Good day to you and to our viewers.
Dr. Stanley Ndwago will be joining us later, but to avoid keeping our viewers waiting, that's why we had to start without waiting. When he comes, he will join us. All right, having said that, on Thursday, the 5th day of January 2023, INEC, in its bid to ensure free, fair, and credible election of February and March 2023, outside the introduction of the bimodal verification of voters accreditation system, INEC on the 5th of January decided that they will not use university lecturers as returning officers for 2023 general election. INEC will only use their staff for the exercise. And the big question has been, how are they going to do this? The day, 5th day of January, INEC inaugurated the Committee for National Situation Room and Collection Center for the 2023 general election. The 16-man committee was inaugurated by the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. He charged them to commence work in earnest and also to discharge its responsibilities diligently. Right, this is where we are going to look at other issues, but let us start with what has happened. Comrade, yes. We've been in this country, and INEC is doing everything to change the negative narrative of rigging and so on, because a lot of Nigerians with what is happening, and it looks as if even when you are talking about the Nigerian system, that it is even hitting the university dons and the entire university back. And yet, a lot of Nigerians believe that they had kept Nigeria in this mess. And now INEC now said they are going to look inwards and make use of their staff. How do you look at this?
Yes, I think to me it's a welcome development. The issue of using university dons or professors, as we may call them, was actually begun or introduced in the era of Jega, Atahiru Jega. So professors who were used or who were deployed by INEC or by the commission as returning officers, as ROs. But at a point we realized that there were arguments against that option, that we saw in most cases the elections, the results, the announcements, and the way they actually happened tried to put the professors, I think we threw them under the bus to an extent. There were criticisms against them that having rigged the university system, they are now constituting part of undermining the process. And I believe that in preference or in respect, or if we actually want to pursue integrity, these persons should not be there. I am not saying that they are questionable in terms of their character. In most cases, you have to understand that theirs is just to declare winner of a pattern locality where election has happened. For example, you have, I think, you have 1,491 legislative seats. That's including the states. For the states, you have for the states you have 993, and then for the states you have 993. For the states, you have 993, and then the federal, you have 469. But that's it. I think the issue of removing or not using these professors is a welcome development. Let INEC, being the umpire, the manager of our elections, devise other means of selecting people across the field, people they may consider. And I like the issue of the 16-man committee. To me, is preferable to having university professors being used. And when they announce this result, it does appear as if they are part of the process, while in real fact they have not been to the field. You understand? Theirs is just to declare someone winner and as returned. They are just the returning officer, not that they are part of the field or that they were there at the field at the polling unit. So I think it's a welcome development.
All right, still talking about INEC and their level of independence, and do you agree with the majority of Nigerians that the INEC constituted the problem that we're experiencing today that brought Mohamed Buhari into power?
No, I don't think, let me say this, with respect to 2015 election, I do not think INEC undermine that process. We have to understand that Nigeria was also declining to an extent. Even though economically she was buoyant, she was stable, but security-wise, Nigeria was declining. Boko Haram was actually hoisting its flags in many parts of the country. And then secondly, the issue of corruption. In fact, many people in the cabinet of President Goodluck Jonathan were being accused of acquiring maybe jets and what have you. And there was a statement, although Jonathan later came out to clarify, that what was actually credited to him, saying that if his officials or if his cabinet members were buying jets, it calls for celebration or something like that. A lot of things were happening that even many of them had international dimensions that were not working in favor of Goodluck Jonathan. And being that Nigerians were simply tired of insecurity, then they felt that a general or a retired general will do better. And then to a great extent, although there were issues like child voting and the rest of them, but I do not think INEC undermined the 2015 election that brought President Muhammad Buhari to office. But if we must look back in 2007, I think the winner of the election in 2007, that's President Omar Musa Yar'Adua of the President Morning, he said before the G8, that's now G7, after expulsion of Russia, he said that the election that brought him to office was flawed. And that was why he inaugurated the Uwais Committee. After the Uwais Committee met and made some far-reaching recommendations and reports, I don't know why we are yet to implement those things. And the beautiful reports and recommendations there, but it's still somewhere lying, gathering dust as we speak. So I do not think, yes, I know that since 1999, even from the time you talk about Gobadia, from the get-go, INEC has not done up to our expectation. But I do not think that largely INEC undermined the 2015 election.
All right, so you mentioned Boko Haram in your statement this time, and this morning news, the PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, said this morning that Boko Haram did everything with their sponsors to destabilize, or rather set this country in a blaze. And then talking about Boko Haram and those who sponsor them, do you think this is a part of the irregularities we've had in our elections in the previous years?
Yes, a huge part of the irregularities. And to an extent, I also blame the president. If you talk about the sponsors of terrorists, I said here the other day that the United Arab Emirates, that's the Emirati government, that's the Emirati government in Dubai, wrote to Nigeria saying we have been able to undercover or to discover those who are sponsoring or the sponsors of terrorists or the sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria, and we have some of them in custody. They have confessed. They mentioned some names who are also in your country. We want you to prosecute these persons. The list was sent to the federal government, and then Attorney General said he wouldn't be spilling the beans. He wouldn't be publishing or making known who the sponsors of these terrorists are. As we speak today, that list Just like I said about the US community report, it's also somewhere gathering dust. So to that extent, I think it undermined the war against terror, because it was one of the three-pronged cardinal point or areas for which Nigerians elected President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015. You understand? To fight terrorism, to put an end to terrorism.
All right. Now, still talking about INEC, because this is going to form the major heading of our today's discussion, INEC, because without INEC, nothing, I'm not sure anything like election.
Election cannot happen.
In this country. Now, shortly before now, INEC threatened through one of their agents that this election may not hold. This that announcement was blown into undue proportion. When they said, I'm sure they were talking about insecurity in certain local government and certain areas. And then a whole lot of Nigerians saw that as a threat that this election may not hold. May not hold. And so I want you to throw more light about that statement.
Yes.
And also, because in the news this morning, INEC said nothing. They don't even intend to shift the date of the election.
Yes.
Talk less of postponing it.
Yes, I think, like I said some time ago, or like I said recently, I said the media practitioners, owners of media platforms, including newspapers and what have you, even mainstream and the modern media or the social media or the new media, the social media and the rest of them. I don't know why the reportage they send out are usually sensational. The heading of the story, or the headlines of the story, the punchlines, the way they want to capture or let me say phrase the statement sometimes bring about problem. This man said, and I want to paraphrase him the way he said, if insecurity continues and is not dealt with decisively, you understand, it may affect the result of election in constituencies enough to also derail the process. And if you look at it very well, there is element of truth, you understand, in what he said, and I will explain. As of December of last year, 2022, December, about 40 local government councils are under the authority of non-state actors. They are under the control of non-state actors. If you go to Kaduna, Southern Kaduna, about 7 or 5 local councils, they are occupied. And then even in places where they are not fully occupied, or places that are not under occupation, or total occupation of these non-state actors, you feel their strong presence that they call the shot here. There are places in the north where people don't even go to farm again due to this insecurity, which is not letting up. There are also places even in the southeast. For example, I've asked that question many times. Places like Oru West, Oru East, Olo, also, you understand? And in some other places like Ruara, what are the tendencies or the possibilities of elections holding there? But the media should not blow reportage or news reporting out of proportion. Or try to go sensational with what they report. The man did not say that election would be postponed. And I want to also thank the president for affirming and reaffirming that elections will go, that he has no intention of staying beyond the constitutional limit. And again, there is also something to look at. You see, INEC has what it calls the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. He said the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security works with INEC to appraise the security situation of the country, to study the security situation of the country, to make reports, to issue security guidelines to INEC. But this committee, this consultative committee, has not come out to make this announcement. So to that extent, I do not know whether the representative of the INEC chairman who spoke at that platform, because they were talking about security training evaluation, whether he was speaking for himself or he was speaking for Professor Mahmoud Yakub. But the fact remains that there is an interagency with which INEC work to monitor the security situation, and they include the police, they include the army, they include the navy, they include, in fact, recently this committee was expanded to include also EFCC and ICPC to help INEC and the security agencies to track people who are buying votes, who are inducing voters, you understand, to track them and then track the flow of their transactions too. So I do not think that there is anything, you understand, as of the moment that will make these elections not to hold. But you know, we have 4 major candidates and 3 leading candidates. If you look at the surveys being and even the sampling being given to us, you see that 3 of these candidates are tied. They are neck and neck. They are tied. One survey today will say it is Peter Obi. The next will say it is Atiku. The other one will say it's Tinubu. So if elections do not happen in 40 local government councils, it may affect the result of the election to an extent that somebody who may have won, or if elections happen everywhere, may not actually win. That is what we are.
Okay, the INEC agent who talked about the insecurity in Nigeria, that may, yes.
That may
hinder.
It's a conditional statement.
Yes, it is. Yes,
it's not final.
Now, considering what has, if you are continue talking about security, considering the latest happening in the railway attack,
yes,
and then we had 31 persons were kidnapped. This morning, we had it is now 20, and then how are we sure? And also, I want you to take these 2 questions together. Now that there is a name was sent to this country about the sponsors of the federal government have done nothing about it, and even the insecurity we're talking about has continued. Even this January, we talked about this kidnapping, and I think that is the first time he's hitting that part of the Nigeria in the southwest.
Yes.
In the southwest. Then, what is the certainty that whether it was preempted or whether it was prophecy by the INEC agent, what is the certainty that these insecurity will not continue into the mandate of the election?
Well, there is no certainty to me. I will not say there is any certainty. I cannot guarantee the possibility of insecurity not happening until the day of until the elections themselves begin. And I say this for obvious reasons. You see, if at all we are talking about fighting or combating insecurity by non-state actors, there was something Goodluck Jonathan did. There was an approach he adopted. You know, remember in 2015, prior to the election, they had a meeting, a consultative meeting with INEC, with the service chiefs, and with other stakeholders. They arrived at the conclusion that the election be shifted to enable the Nigerian security agencies flush out elements of terror. You understand? To flush out terrorists within some parts of the country. And within that stipulated time, the Nigerian military was actually equipped, you understand, armed, and they went into the field. They were able to push and flush out these terrorists to the margins. You understand? But as I speak to you now, I'm starting to say it. Some parts of the country do appear to be occupied. You remember at the point the governor of Niger State raised an alarm. What did he say? He said that terrorists were not even up to 2 hours away from FCT, and that they are not even far from striking range. You understand what that means? That even FCT was then vulnerable. He said that, and he said in his state they are controlling some areas, some portion. In fact, they are holding swords of land in his state. Now, it wasn't even long. We now heard the security alert from the U.S. Commission and the British and the rest of them. They were talking. Their missions were actually alerting their citizens not to travel to Nigeria or to be careful when they are in Nigeria. But whatever the situation is, Nigeria is not yet totally overrun. Let us also understand that. We have not fallen to the extent that you can compare us to maybe Somalia or Libya, although the symptoms of state failure are staring us in the face. Yes, they are looking at us and we are seeing them, but we have not yet collapsed to the brink where we say we can no longer hold election. I don't think the possibility of elections not happening because of insecurity is there. But at the same time, I cannot tell you that we may not. I cannot prophesy that we may not have 1 or 2 threats during the election, because I had expected that if now listen, Former Minister of Transport, Amechi, said he raised a memo before the Federal Executive Council telling them to give him 2 billion naira to procure some gadgets to be deployed along the railway track. You understand? These newly constructed railway tracks, you know, that crisscross around the country. Said he should be equipped, or he should be supported with 2 billion naira to procure these logistics, to station these intelligence gadgets or equipment. We also that the federal government they declined that, and to an extent we are now seeing that these terrorists. Now listen, why is it that each time this thing happens, there is no way of defining or discerning who is behind this attack? The one in Abuja, Kaduna, the one that happened, the Nigerian government came out to say it was Ansaru. Ansaru is a splinter of Boko Haram. Ansaru came out to say it's not our ideology to attack people who pose no threat to us. But if you see America and Israel, if an attack happens, America will tell you this is ISIS-style attack. They say this is, you understand? And they will say this is Al-Qaeda-style attack. Israel will say this is a Hezbollah-style attack or what have you. But in Nigeria, we don't have that analysis yet to say this person must be this. And we go after them, and they are those people we are even having in mind. And let me tell you this, the people who attacked the Kaduna train, the Kaduna-bound train, came in motorbikes. The people who attacked or who later went to free people or their own in Kuje prison came also in motorbikes. Now these ones who attacked the railway, the Igwebe train station, who attacked people there, came with vehicles. We are told that they left and then went into the bush with their abductees. So I think we are not doing enough. And if at all we have a working railway sector, you should have served the purpose of election, because some of these logistics would have been deployed through the rail. So it means that INEC cannot even contemplate using the railway, yes, to ship and move logistics, and it will also increase the cost.
Now, talking about the strategy Goodluck Jonathan applied during his own time,
yeah.
And I am sure that most of the actors in his administration are also part of this administration. And then, since the federal government, so to speak, know about the sponsors, and they have their list, they have their names, and they've done nothing.
Yes.
Don't we think, don't you rather think that what is happening to this country in terms of insecurity is within us here?
Yes, it is within us here. Even the former president stated that he would not be surprised if it was established that a member of his cabinet is a sympathizer of Boko Haram. Jonathan said that, and it's a statement of fact. Many people, in fact, there are people, even among the so-called presidential aspirants, there are people, and the so-called presidential aspirants and their running mates, there are people who are being pointed to today. One or two fingers are pointing at them, saying, this person's sponsored this person's, or they were even eating, they were whining and dining with actors, with terrorists, with sworn terrorists, enemies of this state. You understand? But to a great extent, yes, I would say that what is happening to us is within us. And I want to remind you that Malami said he will not be disclosing or publishing the list in national interest. Now ask yourself, what is national interest again? National interest, in our definition as scholars in international relations, we say national interest are those things that are present for which a country may go to war. We are already at war with the forces of terror, with elements of terror, with terrorists who are trying to actually overrun the Nigerian state, or to even succeed the Nigerian state and plant their own version of state or Islamic state. So if you say in national interest, in fact, let me even say it was also alleged that one of the persons in the list happened to be either an APC member or so in one state in the north. So why are we protecting these persons in the interest of the nation? Which interest? Of course, Malami has said before that national interest is his prerogative, that he decides what is national interest, and I wouldn't know why. He's not the Minister of Foreign Affairs who protects or promotes the interest of Nigeria state in terms of our foreign relation. He is not the Minister of Interior. He is not also the President. So if you talk about national interest, I wouldn't know why it is like that. And to be honest, remember, I remember also that there was a time Boko Haram did say that they want President Muhammad Buhari then, who was not yet the president, to be their lead negotiator. It shows you they have face. You understand? And then we also know that in this country, some persons have appointed themselves, you understand, armchair diplomats to work and to negotiate, you understand, to broker peace or truce between the so-called bandits in the forest margins and the federal government. I'm talking about the cleric now in the north. So if we think, and then even there have been confessions. Former Deputy Governor of CBN, Obido Emailafia, said something. And after that statement, I don't know whether there was any investigation or something. He even said that this election may not hold. He said many things, that a certain governor in the north was sponsoring terrorism. So these are the things we should all try to look at. But being citizens, we may not have all the intelligence available to us since we don't have the paraphernalia of government.
All right, and then considering what is happening, and then the government, the federal government, so to say, and with the statement credited to Malami, who said this, that we think that what is happening is practically on one side, and maybe the government are somehow directly or indirectly involved.
Yes, I think, yes, I will say on one side. The government may be, you see, let me explain this. You see, there is no way, certain things that have happened in the past in the name of terrorism, it cannot happen anywhere else, or let me say elsewhere where the government is desirous of combating terror. I will explain. The Kuje facility attack. I want to bring out something there now. You see, the Kuje facility attack, before it happened, over 40 intelligence reports or signals were sent to the authorities. I'm talking about the security agencies now. The intelligence community was able to decipher that there was a looming attack on the facility. They sent out signals, 40 plus of them, telling them there will be an attack on this facility. Do you know what happened? Instead of the authorities arming, deploying officials, they moved the formation station there. Few moments from the attack, they gave a directive. The soldiers or the police who were there were now moved. And these people came in motorbikes again, and they had a few, they operated in the whole of Kuje. We all have been to Abuja, and we know where Kuje is. Kuje is not far from many military formations. Even the Air Force, even many military, it can take up to 40 minutes to deploy them. You understand? To be there. But this thing happened for about 2 hours plus going, and there was no fighting back. There was no mobilization. They even came and carried their own. And yes, so nothing happened. Now ask yourself, what was the role of government in all this? What did the government do? Even the president visited an expression. We all remember his language and what he said. Now, bringing it back to the list, that is, to me, that is compromise. You have this list, you don't want to, you don't want to publish it. Now, come to evaluate what happened in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu has been said to be leading a terror group, had been accused of importing.
Even when they had no catapult.
Yes, even when and I can tell you, yes, and I can tell you that the issue of ESN came in 2019 after the MNA killings. For more than once or twice, the IPOB people will gather somewhere having their meeting. It's even happened in my Amamata National High School here in Aba. They will be having their meeting. The military will come and spray bullets until they decided that they now decided to arm themselves after 2019 MNA killings in Enugu, where they're going to now see. Nnamdi Kanu is somebody who has actually been described as a person of interest or concern by the federal government. He was captured all the way, in fact, far away, as far as Kenya, that's east of Africa. He was captured there, brought back here. He took a high level of intelligence to know first that he was leaving his base in the United Kingdom or wherever. It also took intelligence to know that he is in that, he was in Kenya at that time. It also took intelligence for Nigerian to arrange the sting operation. You understand? They went, they captured him, they brought him here, and today he's facing trial. If the government can do this, is it just to expose people who are sponsoring people in the north that they cannot do? So I think the government is fighting the kind of terrorism it wants to fight. And I want to stand on that the government is being selective. It's simple.
All right, wonderful viewers, we're going to go on a very short break. When we come back, issues of the moment will continue. We are still looking at the possibility of 2023 general election by INEC, and also the mentioned insecurity in Nigeria that may hinder the progress of this forthcoming general election. When we come back, we'll continue. Don't go away.
Allow me to enjoy myself. Allow me,
Have you heard that Living Television, the latest satellite station on SatView channel, is received all over Nigeria and Africa? You can watch Living Television on every free-to-air HD decoder, including Strong HD and CSAT HD. Why keep paying for monthly subscriptions when you can have fun for free? With Living Television, you can watch lots of wrestling, football, documentaries, and Nigerian films, including discussions and debates on current Nigeria issues. Watch free live matches on La Liga Spain cum Serie A, Italy cum Bundesliga, German League 1, and French matches on over 80 premium channels. Wow! You can also sponsor your programs such as live church services and crusades, political rallies, burial and wedding ceremonies, promotional interviews, announcements, advertisements, documentaries, and commercials. We are situated at number 1 Judges Street off Ikorebane Road, Aba, Abia State. For further enquiries, call 0805 367 3900. Signed, Management.
allow me,
I'm glad you're still there watching Living TV, your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. Today, like I told you earlier, in case you're just joining us now, we are looking at the insecurity and INEC general election this year, 2023, between the months of February and March 2023. All right, still talking about the insecurity we are facing. Now, looking at that announcement, because this is the only thing seen that could serve as a hindrance to this forthcoming general election.
Exactly.
And through the federal government, through Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information and Culture, had assured Nigerians that this general election must hold. Nothing is going to stop it. And even the Afenifere group also said that they are not even anticipating a shift of that, on this election. And yet, insecurity has continued. And the government has told us nothing about the fight of insecurity, just like you mentioned what Jonathan did during his own tenure, how the military were able to stop, the insecurity before the election, could take place. And today, about yesterday or thereabout, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari told us that he is fulfilled and that he's going to leave Nigeria a fulfilled man. With this level of insecurity in Nigeria, how are we certain about this general election?
Yes, I am certain about the general election. You understand? I'm very certain that the elections will hold as planned. INEC has actually come out to say that too. Afenifere has actually said they cannot accept anything outside the election happening as planned, as scheduled. Now, see, INEC has 14 items in each schedule. INEC has 14 items in each schedule. Preparatory to this election, INEC has 14 actions in each timeline, in each schedule, and it has carried out 11, remaining 3. So it tells you that we are progressing, and the elections, for now, there is nothing, there is no reason whatsoever to say elections will not be happening. For example, there is even INEC too has a role to play in the security. You understand, because the Electoral Act empowers the commission to work with the security agencies and to deploy security to places that are strategic during elections. You understand? So, I have mentioned here about the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, ICES, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, through which INEC interface with the police, the army, the navy, the DSS, what have you. So, yes, possibility of elections happening is there more than the possibility of it not happening. But what you should be talking about is, can insecurity undermine the outcome of the result? And that is where I'm saying, as of December last year, just this last month, 40 local government areas or councils were under the control of non-state actors. So to an extent, in an election where you have 3 persons said to be neck and neck, or said to be tied, it means to an extent, if elections don't hold in specific places within these localities, it may affect the results. You understand? But that I actually said again, INEC should not be giving us excuses, because it has 305 billion naira now at its cover to carry out this election. So far, it has deployed about, it says it's deploying 117 billion just for intelligence, just for the technological innovations. It has made 22 innovations, including the beavers, the IRF, the ABIS, and the rest of them. A lot of things, you understand? So we are all prepared, and we are waiting to see the election.
They are not supposed to have an excuse.
Come 25th of next month through March of this year.
All right. The Committee for National Situation Room and Collection Center, as formed by INEC, 16-man committee. Then what is the certainty that this number of persons can actually do what this university has done in other elections?
Well, you say a day begins a story. Yes, it is just innovation. We keep trying until we get to what is close to perfection. Like I said before, the issue of, we know certain elections where you have problems and all that, and then you are bringing the results for a certain professor to come and announce, and to me there is no dignity. So I think INEC should actually be the ones to do this. I wouldn't know who advised us in the first place to use professors for this kind of jamboree. Why?
Because the professor was in charge. Just like this one.
Yeah, and every time
he needed to involve his colleagues.
Every time we want to make appointments to INEC as the chairman of we have always gone for professors. Mahmoud Yakubu is a professor. Jega is a professor. In fact, except Maurice, who was also a professor, but not of political science. So it's not. It's good to look for scholars, but I think experts, people who are committed, are more needed than merely scholars. I am not against us using scholars, but people who are committed to that, who understand the nitty-gritty, who understand the terrain, who know the issues of electioneering, who understand everything about electioneering. I'm more important if you ask me.
Yeah, we're now talking about the beavers. That is the biomedical verification of voters' accreditation system that the INEC wants to use. I think it is purely electronic.
Yes.
Yes. And then maybe that is why, because talking about this 16-man committee, what would have asked? Are they going to go to various units, polling units throughout the federation, and there are only 16 of them? Maybe because of this gadget, the beavers, and then the thing will be controlled. Because if you remember what one of them, we displayed it in the screen here the other day, when one of the INEC agents, either one of the commissioners, one doctor, somebody who explained that the beavers is just about having a snap of
the main results.
The main results. And the moment you do that, it's already in the office. So it does not call for rigging and so on. And I think that maybe that is why that is where the 16-man committee are going to concentrate on. Then, outside that, talking about rigging, yet INEC talked about that. They said they announced that vote buying is not accepted, and just like we discussed partly yesterday. Then, what do you think happens to people, because you had in some areas, they're already collecting the reference numbers of the voters' cards,
yes,
and so on. And then people who are bent on winning, do or die, whether any man likes it or not. Just like Peter B said, it is not the presidency of this country is too important to be used as a settlement for retirement or retirement benefit. And then, what do we do about this vote buying? Because if they are intensifying efforts, and if you say you cannot do it, if you begin to withdraw the amount of money, the limit mentioned by CBN on daily basis between now and February, and even March, you have enough to buy the votes.
Yes, to buy the votes. I think I want to thank you for this very important question you raised, issue of vote buying. Vote buying or voter inducement had always been there from the get-go of electioneering in Nigeria. But we saw another dimension of it during the Osun and the Ekiti elections. And then we now saw how people who are called, or who were called delegates, came back with their pockets stuffed with hard currencies. And then for the first time, you remember that I mentioned the interagency consultative committee on election security, now comprising EFCC and ICPC. For the first time, EFCC had to go into operation. They swung into operation. They stormed they stormed the primary election centers, and arrests were made. In fact, in the Ekiti and Osun State Guba elections that just held last year, arrests were made. People who were having this money. In Nigeria we say money bags. Ghana must go. They carry this money in that bag or in those bags and storm election centers, yes, or grounds. I'm beginning to try to induce voters. It has acquired another dimension that, in fact, somebody was displaying something on social media a few days ago, something he received from one of the leading political parties. It included late foodstuffs and what have you. And I'm now asking, this thing you have received or these items you've received, will it endure? Will it last for the next 4 years? Don't mortgage your future for a mess of pottage. Don't even try to sell your future to criminals, to people who don't have your interest at heart. Now, the issue of vote buying is a crime. Even our electoral laws contemplated that. And our electoral laws are clear about it. That people who are buying vote, but then there is also an ongoing conversation. There is an ongoing conversation at the National Assembly what to do with those who have actually done this. And the conversation is all about what? Election or Electoral Offences Commission being established. But the debate is ongoing. We don't know where they are yet at it now. But you can trust our politicians to do everything. To do that, I can tell you that many of these politicians may have, including the new banknotes, start somewhere. It's possible to use as a war chest during the election. Don't forget that we saw one politician, a leading aspirant, dole out this money somewhere during the town hall meeting.
Okay. Yes, talking about these, vote buying and so on. We know there are too many ways this thing can come. And then though the INEC and even the federal government are making announcements against vote buying and so on. But the general election that will first start by February 25th of February, and 25th of February. What are the major expectations? And the first election is going to be that of the presidency. And I'm sure this morning, if you had listened to news, you heard when Atiku said the APC presidential candidate that is a very corrupt person, and electing him would put Nigeria into a serious mess. It was on news this morning. And then with the happenings of Obi and his adoption by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, what are we expecting? And what is happening to Nigeria? Surely before you take that question, you can still call us, though we almost, this program is almost coming to an end, but you can always call us and make your contributions, tell us your name and where you're calling from. The number to call is 091-682-84994. I take it again, 091-682-84994. You can tell us, make your contributions or ask questions and tell us where you are calling from. Yeah, comrade. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You see, to me personally, the expectations are much. If you look at the political permutation, because you asked the question, what are we expecting? The political permutation itself seems to be pointing to one particular thing, that we are not having the kind of, the trajectory has changed. We are no longer having the kind of system we have where people go for, let me say, well, everybody go for two leading dominant parties. Today we have a cemented force, you understand, in the person of Peter Obi, and then there is also a Kwankwaso who is also making inroads. So may not be decided in one leg.
Okay.
There may be a repeat, okay, as the Constitution and the Electoral Act provided for. Because if you look at the spread or the demographics of this whole thing, you will see that, I'm trying to say it here, but then I'm to say it anyway. You will see that Peter Obi is popular in the southeast and in the greater part of the south, and there is a possibility of him getting up to the so-called 25% vote cast in places like Abuja, Lagos, and what have you. You understand?
Because of the vice.
Because of the, yes. And now, Atiku is also popular in the north. You understand? And his side, we also the challenge he gave the president during the last election. You understand? Now, Tinubu is also popular in the west, and also making inroads in the north too. So this whole election, to me, if you look at it, you see that the expectation for me is that yes, there is a change in the land, and it could be for good, it could be for bad, depending on what later later happens. But I am happy that in this election we are no longer having the duel between PDP and APC. There are now new challengers, and this election happens to be one that provides Nigerians with every kind of choice you want to make. The choice, in fact, we are spoiled for choice. And I'll tell you why. See, in this election, there are people who have a particular ideology of maybe Marxism or capitalism or even revolutionary ideology. So it depends on what Nigerians want. But look at this election. See that before now we used to see politicians eat roast corn along the street, drink pure water sachet, or they drink sachet water from vendors or hawkers. They even stoop as low as with the grape. Yes, they come to eat, but those are no longer in the optics. Those are we seem to be advancing beyond this. And one man, largely, in fact, this owes to what appearance of one man in the scene, and that is Peter Obi. If you ask me, he is making the election issue focus. Now, issue focus in the sense that a lot of things are happening, and politicians are responding, going to areas ravaged by flood to spread the news or to give solace or comfort to those who are displaced, going to, in fact, taking the campaign to the streets. You understand? Door-to-door campaigns are happening now. So it's no longer going to be business as usual. So we all can should actually expect, hopefully, the best for us. But I'm urging Nigerians to make sure that they are PVC.
Yes, the presidential candidate of APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this morning said that Nigerians should call Atiku to ask Atiku to explain his health condition to Nigerians.
Yes.
And then when you look at these two things, I think they've always been in a war of words, you know,
Yes.
outside Peter Obi.
Yes.
Now, INEC, even yesterday, said they have about 9-point-something million voters' cards out. And that in most of the words, local governments are not serious in collecting their PVCs. What do you think will happen if it continues this way? And if this number of voters' cards are not collected, how many persons will be voting then?
And that is the problem we have. You see, elections have never happened. In fact, if you go to this, if you look at the spirit of election, or if you study election results, you see that hardly have we had elections where 70% of the registered voters come out to vote. It's always start something to sometimes 50%. You understand?
But we are thinking Obi has changed the narrative.
You see, to a great extent, apathy. There are still people, you know, that is why I like American kind of election. They study the demographics, they know the people, the undecided population, people who don't even have candidates yet. They also know people who have a particular candidate. And they have what they call swing states that can vote here or there. And that is where the candidates concentrate their campaigns on. But in Nigeria, we do not know. There are many things playing out, even religion. I saw a clip where people were being told to vote for a particular person because he serves their religious interest. Now, even the other day, a pastor says, I don't know whether that was a joke. A bishop said something. I think he's from one of the Yoruba states. He said he was asking his congregation whether they have PVCs. They said yes, they have PVCs. They said, do you have a candidate you want to vote for? They say yes. He said, okay, let me pray for you. May your children possess the character of the candidate you want to vote for. Fewer persons said amen. Fewer persons said amen. Why? Because in most cases, you will also see that many people are not going to vote for character. They are not going to vote for competence. They are not going to vote for integrity, track record, you understand, qualities a leader should possess. They are going to vote for their turn. Because it is their turn, because it is the person from their tribe, because he has the same religious views as they too. So it's also one of the things to be looked into in this election, that we've not overcome the challenge of tribe, the challenge of religion, all which are what, to me, dividing factors than they unite us. You understand? Why do politicians always harp on religion when elections start? Even the current president, in one of his rallies in 2007 or so, urged Muslims not to vote for non-Muslims. It's on record. He said that.
I think almost made the same step.
Yes. So to me, they usually harp on those things that divide us than those things that unite us when election starts nearing, just to make sure that they get votes and then win election. So those who have not collected their PVCs, they are the problem of this MC. There is that saying, you understand, by scholars that evil thrives because honest men do nothing. And I think Plato said that when you refuse to participate in the political process, you will be led by people you are better than. You will be led by the people you are better than. You understand? You will be led by your inferiors. So I think this election calls for everybody making a decisive effort. Collect first, go out there and collect the PVCs. Make sure you vote, because it cannot continue to be. I went to monitor this PVC collection the other day. I nearly cried. In fact, there were challenges. In most cases, you see that even INEC made mistakes. People whose card were to be replaced were only revalidated, meaning there was no loss. Only that the card could not be captured by the machine. So they had to revalidate the card to say that this card is valid. It's no longer that this card is lost, but the card is lost. Now, there were also people who participated and were told that they did double registration. You understand? There were also people who came for no reason. They couldn't even find their cards. So these are just the challenges. But then those ones are available. They belong to people. If 70% of Nigerians collect their PVC, or let me say 75% of Nigerians collect their PVCs and vote, there is no possibility of telling me that this process can be rigged. I understand the politicians are doing they are leaving nothing to chance. In fact, you here talked about the PVC harvesting, the issue of gathering people who own PVC to collect their VIN, their voter identification number from the card. To me, it's not going to make any sense. And again, INEC said something that unsettled me the other day. They said during the Ekiti and Osun elections, their server and their website were constantly under attack. Constantly under attack, even as far as from Asia. So it tells you that these people, we are even, they are, and the Bible will say we are battling not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in high places. So some of these politicians are principalities and powers. They want to do everything to make the status quo remain.
All right, before we go, what have you for INEC and also for our wonderful viewers?
Okay, thank you. My parting shot to INEC is that they should do the needful. Let them do everything. Make sure they cross their T's and dot their I's. Also work in harmony with the security agencies to make sure that the system is ready or is served well in the, for the purposes of this election. Then my advice to our viewers is, please viewers, go out there, get your PVCs. The change you are looking for will start from the day you are free in your local government, you are free in your state, and then up to the federation. Go take your PVCs, make sure you use it. Thank you.
All right, our wonderful viewers, we'll be coming to the end of today's program, Security and INEC General Election 2023. Go get your PVC. That is the parting word from Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. And also make sure, if you don't want to be part of the problems of this country, make sure you use your tongue. Use your tongue very, very well, and that is the only time you have something to tell your children. We did our best, but remember, he also said it here, evils prosper because good men do nothing. And I'm sure you are not going to fold your hands and do nothing. Let all of us do something and make sure Nigeria becomes a better place for all of us in this country. Having said that, my guest and discussant today is Nnamdi Elekwachi. Nnamdi Elekwachi, we're happy having you today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy.
And this is your anchor man, Chinedum Adele. Remember, tomorrow will be Nigeria Today. Keep a date with us and keep watching Living TV.
Allow me to enjoy myself. Allow me,
Have you heard that Living Television, the latest satellite station on SatView channel, is received all over Nigeria and Africa? You can watch Living Television on every free-to-air HD decoder, including Strong HD and CSAT HD. Why keep paying for monthly subscriptions when you can have fun for free? With Living Television, you can watch lots of wrestling, football, documentaries, and Nigerian films, including discussions and debates on current Nigeria issues. Watch free live matches on La Liga Spain cum Serie A, Italy cum Bundesliga, German League 1, and French matches on over 80 premium channels. Wow! You can also sponsor your programs such as live church services and crusades, political rallies, burial and wedding ceremonies, promotional interviews, announcements, advertisements, documentaries, and commercials. We are situated at number 1 Judges Street off Ikoregbane Road, Aba, Abia State. For further